Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be working on this PowerSmart 212cc 26-inch snowblower. Now the snowblower is surging while on. We haven't even had snow to like use it, but I figure if your machine's running rough like this could help you out. This could apply to other machines. It'll be a very similar process, obviously not exact, but similar. Now I've got this one to do, and then I'll be doing another video on a Craftsman that I have, and we'll go through that. So in this video we're going to be removing this cover, removing the carburetor, cleaning the carburetor, and putting it all back together and seeing how it runs. Now I know I don't have a startup video with this thing surging, but believe me, I'm not going to waste my time on it if it doesn't. So anyway, be sure to give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and let's get started. All right guys, so first things first, I popped the drain out of the drain plug out of the carburetor, and I'm just letting it slowly drain. There's no on and off gas valve or petcock for this, so I can't just turn the gas line off, which is a total pain in the butt. Also, I removed this tire just so it would be out of my way. Now I, or you, or we, whatever, we're gonna need 10 millimeters. We're gonna need 10 millimeter socket though. We've got a few bolts on this side. Now, if you're just taking this and running with it for your machine, obviously it would be different, but you have to be able to get access to the carburetor. So let's remove those and go from there. Alright guys, so I've got this first cover off. All the bolts are out, saved in a pan. So now each one, like I said, if you're not working on the same model, you're working on something different, might look different, obviously. You're going to have to undo the wires that go to the key switch, on and off switch, whatever your setup looks like. In this case, I don't want to take all that plastic out, so I'm just going to take a look here and pop these wires off. Try to remember what goes on what side when you're doing that. Mark them if you need to. And sometimes they don't just want to come off with a little tug, so take those flathead ever so carefully, pry them off. Okay, the wires are off. Now there's a little hose that goes to the primer bulb. You're going to need to take some pliers and move that hose clamp back. Could be a different style. In this case, it's the style you gotta squeeze it. Sometimes you might have the kind, you know, that uses a screw or whatever, but it's on there pretty good. Now, I don't recommend draining your gas and all that wherever there's a flame. All right, guys, it could be unsafe. So, all right, so we took the hose off of here, unplugged our wires, setting that piece aside. Sounds like our gas stopped draining just in time. So, let's get this out of the way. Oh, still got some coming out of there. It's left in the bowl. It's alright. So the issue with the bowl can be this seal when you pull these things off, so try not to lose that. You may have to try and find a gasket if it rips. You know, sometimes PowerSmart can be a tough one to get parts for, so Amazon's always a good place for, you know, different things. Alright, so I let the tank drain the rest of the way. I got the hose propped up here out of the way. So now the carburetor basically just slides forward. Okay, in this case there's a spring and a rod connecting it. Very carefully, trying not to bend it, gonna undo that spring. I'll pop the rod straight up. Now the carb is free. Now the bummer with this model is the handle is right in your stinking way. So you gotta monkey around with it. The easiest way to get this carb off is right below my hand. There's 2 bolts holding this handle on. Undo those and it gives you enough play to move the handle and slip the carb out. You guys want to go an easier route? Undo a couple bolts and take it off. I'm gonna put this gasket back on because we don't need that off. Here's our carb. Let's go up here to the bench and see what we can do to clean it up. If you didn't already take the bolt out on the carb, your carb would look like this. All right, you remove that center bolt, this comes apart. That's where that seal was. You could possibly replace it with an O-ring if need be. So I'm going to set these 2 pieces. Well, before we set these aside, look inside your bowl. You can see some crud in this. This crud is like from old gas buildup. Sits here, creates a sludge, gets sucked in your carburetor, then it runs like crap. So honestly, we can, before we set that aside, what I like to do is have a fresh shop towel ready for parts that are already cleaned up. Get some brake cleaner. I use the Brake Clean non-flammable stuff. Use it however you want. I use it like I buy it. At least until Brake Clean says, hey, we'll sponsor your videos. For now, though, use it like you paid for it. Set that aside. Cleaned out good enough. Here's our carburetor. All right. I want to remove the float. Now there's a pin that holds the float, but I'm going to hold the float up just a little with my finger and my thumb. And I'm going to remove the pin. Okay, I'm going to set that pin on the paper towel. Now there is a spring under here and a needle. Sometimes they're attached, sometimes they're not. Okay, guys, so before lifting the float up and off, I'm going to put my hand cupping all of that. I'm going to remove the float very carefully. All right, in this case, on this carburetor, try not to drop it. The spring and the needle are together at the moment, so not sure if it'll pop off when I pop the needle off, but again, actually, you know what, I think I'm just going to leave that together. There's really no need to pull it off. Inspect it. It actually looks pretty good. If there's any gunk on it, hit it with the Brake Clean, push it back in place, carefully set that aside. Let's bring our carb back into the picture here. Okay, all up in here looks pretty good. There's not a bunch of junk, which is a plus. Sorry for the lighting, guys. I'm doing this out in the tent. I've got a big epoxy pour going in the shop, so I'm still trying to get a video out for this channel. There you go. Hopefully you guys can see better. I'll work on lighting out here, though. All right, so we got to get a flathead to get down in here. This is where the jets are. More than likely, they've got junk and gunk. Now, I already broke this one free, but sometimes they're in there really tight. You want to make sure the flathead fills the whole space and it's not too small. These are brass pieces, okay? What that means is if the screwdriver is too small, basically you'll strip it out or your brake pieces off. Now this has its own little set of threads in there. Once we get past those threads, you're basically just shaking everything out. Okay, now this is hollow for the most part. I mean, there's some other stuff going on down there, but we've removed our jets. That's the plug, right, where the screwdriver fit. This one's pretty marred up. I just jacked it up, I'll admit it. And here's our jets. Now, just looking at them, it'll be tough for you guys to see, but I can see one right here. There's junk on it. Could be from my pan, but I see a little bit of like sludge caught in the bottom right here. So we'll take some Brake Clean, we'll blast that up. But what we're also going to do is grab a brass bristle brush, and we're going to use the needles on that, little bristles, and punch through all those holes and Brake Clean everything. Good idea to wear gloves. Let's see here, kind of move so you guys can see a little better. Watch your eyes. Safety glasses are a good idea. I'm actually going to cover the end. I'm going to try to cover the end here, so it'll blow all the jets out. Doing it off screen made it a little bit easier. Didn't want to get the camera, give it a good blast, and it just shoots them all. So I'm not even going to poke them all. I just watched them all come clean. I'm going to do one more straight through though, because my finger was on the end. I'm going to call that good. You can take as much time as you want on it, or don't. Now the top of this has a hole through it where we use the flathead to undo. Shoot through that guy. Okay, those two parts are clean. I'm going to set them aside. Set them aside. If you lose parts at this point, you have to get a new carburetor regardless. Now, new carburetor might be your route anyway. Not a big deal. Just order one up. Again, if I can find one on Amazon, I'll have it linked in the description below. Order it up, pull this one off, put that one on, you're done. Clean this one in your own time, or, you know, throw it out. Some people like to have the thrill or the excitement of cleaning it yourself. I enjoy this kind of stuff. I realize not everybody does. Some people just want that quick fix. That's all right too. And what I'm doing is going around looking at the carb. Are there any spots I can blast brake cleaner through? There's not really a ton. We're going to come through here. We're going to clean out that hole. Okay, right here as well where the jet was sitting, or where the needle sat, there's a little hole. I think that's about it. I don't think there's any other spots I can really hit other than actually where the gas line goes, just in case there's some sludge in there. There we go. All right, we've hit everything forward to back. Let's see about putting everything back together and seeing how it runs. If you guys are this far in the video and you're watching, I really, really do appreciate it as we grow this channel here on Kyle's Chainsaw Rescue. You know, we're getting over 700 subscribers, which is absolutely awesome. At this point, we are about 7 weeks in, maybe 8 weeks into this new channel. And I'm really, really happy with how it's been growing. You guys have been great. The cold start videos really took the channel off, especially that 500i video. That's just really cool. If other mechanics watch, guys, I am always open to conversation and ideas and things like that. You know, I'm just self-taught as far as these things go. So if I miss something, I'm always open to, you know, other ideas and things as well. So feel free to leave a comment, you know. Just letting that sit kind of a minute, get everything out of there. Now, let's grab our jet here, put this guy back in. I believe this flat side is up, okay? More narrow side goes down, so that top flat will meet up well with the top flat side of my screw. Take my screwdriver. Want to go snug just a little bit. Now, you don't want to over tighten it, guys. You over tighten it and you're gonna have issues, right? It's just a piece of brass. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It's just a piece of brass. Let's go ahead and take a look at our float. You know, is it clean? If it's got junk on it, chances are you need to wipe it off, blow it off, whatever, clean it up. Otherwise, you're putting that junk right back in the bowl again. Carefully realign your float, your needle, and your spring. Got to grab that pin. Sorry about my reach. Go through the hole. Reattach the float. Now, if you're doing this right in person, you're you know, making this happen. A lot of this makes more sense once the part is in your hands. Then I bop the float. Spring's working still. Doodle-doodle-loop. does what it's supposed to do. Cool beans. Where do we put our seal? Anybody remember? I think I set that over here. This guy's a little bit on the dirty side. Oh, not too bad. I thought I had sawdust on it, but it does not. It's got some stuff from the carb, but that's all right. We're just looking to seal the bowl back on. And the problem is these stretch out. So doing what I just did isn't always the best idea, because they will stretch out on you. Sometimes they stretch out just by removing them, and then they don't go back in place. And you end up having to get a new one anyway. So we're going to try to get this thing close. You'll know if you need a new one. It won't fit. And when you put the bowl on, put everything back together, you'll eat gas. Let me think about which way this goes. I want to have this drain facing out away from the motor. I know this is to the side. A little spin. Put this, when you put this piece in right here on the bottom, it holds the bowl on for you. Tighten that. Tighten my drain plug. Let's see about putting this back on the machine and see how it runs. Alright guys, I feel like there's really no good angle here for you. Here are the two, alright, the two bolts that the that the carburetor's got to slide on. You just got to make sure you put it back on the correct way. Alright, that's all very important. Forward though, we've got this rod. It's got to be hooked up in that little spring. That little spring has to go back in the same hole that it was in originally. That spring, I know my hand's probably blocking your view. That spring can be a real fickle thing sometimes, because it's such a fine wire. Get that hooked up though. Boom. Put my gas line back on. Hose clamp back on. It's there, but slide it back in place. This machine has been used a lot. This plug's about had it, but to be honest, the quickest way to do this, spray it with some brake clean, scrub it down with a brass brush, and a lot of times if it's already working, it'll continue to work and work like new. So I do that a lot before I go grab a new plug, especially if I need to get up and running again. So I just put that in brake clean. That's just gonna rest. Let's continue on. Got this black piece, has to go on next. And this hose, this piece over here says OHV, and there's a hose coming out of it. That goes on this piece. Make sure there's no crud in there. One thing I always wish they would do is put an air filter. It sounds silly, but I wish they'd put an air filter on these, because when they sit out of season, I really think crud gets in there, and it just happens. It just seems like it happens. I gotta pull that back off because I forgot to put, there's a gasket I forgot to put that gasket on. So gasket, this piece, the hose. All right. We're almost there. Now I'm gonna go ahead, try to arrange this plastic piece how it needs to be. We've got our primer bulb hose. Put that up. Put the clamp back in place. Get to hook your wires back up the same way that they were so everything works. Mark them, take a picture, have a good memory, do whatever works for you. Fish this piece back around. Putting my wires back in the little wire holder thingy there. I'm gonna line up the screws. Alright guys, so I got everything back together. Let's prime this a few times, get the gas going to the carb. Make sure your key's on. Full choke. Now the starter's dead on this. The electric start, so I'll have to pull it. Oh, if we can get in there. Let's see. More primes. Nothing in that carburetor. Running well, and hopefully this season I'll get another 60-70 uses out of it. Oh yeah, you guys don't even know, on my other channel I reviewed this and we got about 60 or 70 uses last season doing snow removal with this particular unit. So as long as she's still running and working, I'm happy with it. PowerSmart sent me this for reviews, and we've been using it. I've got another one from them, the 250cc. Bunch of reviews. If you guys want to see that, be sure to check out my other channel, KyleHallWoodworker. You guys can go see those reviews and see these machines in action. Now, another video I think I mentioned is going to be a Craftsman. We got to put a new rope in the recoil, take that apart, and do a carb clean and see if we can get that guy running a little bit better as well. Appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, hit that bell, hit all, turn on YouTube notifications, and check out some other videos popping up. Thanks.